Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mediums Podcast. Today, I am so excited to have Sheila Marie with us. She specializes as a forensic psychic medium, and she is also a master teacher for over 25 years. So I can't wait to dive into all the details with you. So welcome, Sheila Marie, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so happy you're here. You have such a rich history, and I can't wait to get into all the fun with you.
Thank you. Thanks for
So
having
tell
me.
me about your experience. You talk about this. You have an incredible book called Forensic Medium, The Power of the Unseen. But in that book, you talk a little bit about your story of intuitiveness as a young child and then having then going into like the regular workforce. So I would love for you to tell us about your journey as an intuitive.
Sure. So I guess I should start where I guess I could start saying that I was always called psychic from my mom growing up when I was little. And, I was kind of off in my own little world type of kid. But, when I was in like grade school and stuff, I was the popular, like president of the student council, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I never thought that I was psychic at all. I actually was very Roman Catholic, so I knew to stay away from that. I wouldn't even go to a psychic for cards or anything like that because I thought that I would go to HE double hockey sticks,
Right.
And all right, so I guess I could start with so I was a police officer for many years, and I was actually home having babies, and I had an experience one time that I saw a flash of light in my bathroom, but after a rainstorm with my sister-in-law, and I was actually talking to her on the phone while it was happening. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, what? I'm like, there's something in my room. She's like, what? So next thing I know, the light flies across the room. My daughter even saw it as well. It's probably an energy ball or something from the storm that we were seeing. So what ended up happening is my sister-in-law got me a gift certificate to go meet your spirit guide class. And I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to that. I go, exactly. I'll go to heck, I'm not doing that. That's against my religion. So I put the gift certificate away. And about a year later, I said, I'll just go because I don't want her to be angry with me.
Yeah.
So I went to the class, and I have to tell you, actually, when I was around 11 years old, my dad was a police officer as well. I'm from a policing family, and he was learning hypnosis on the side to do hit and run cases. And he would take me into deep meditation at a very young age for hours. So I was very comfortable with meditation. So anyways, I get into this class, and what does the teacher do? She takes us into meditation. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I know meditation. I'm safe here because my dad showed it to me. It's not a bad thing. It's basically going into your inner light system is what I call it, and connecting to the universe. I said, oh, I can do this. This is not voodoo, right? And so what happened is we got into the meditation, and our teacher took us to a higher vibration where I started seeing things that I wasn't thinking, that I wasn't creating. I'm like, oh, wow, this is real. I was like, this is awesome. So basically I came home and I told my family, I said, I have to do this. And they're like, what do you have to do? I said, I have to teach people how to connect. And they're like, what? And I'm like, like mediumship and psychics. They're like, oh, great. They're thinking I've lost my ever-living mind.
Totally.
And I'm like, it's okay. You can divorce me now. And I'm divorced now. But so my whole life changed because I knew I said, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. This is my purpose in life. I need to teach people how to connect. Every person has the right to connect to the universe. This is part of who we are. This is our soul, our energy. This is our whole being. And shame on me if I don't help people to do this. And it was so strong in me that I just left my whole life behind me, my whole political life, and did this. But I didn't do it openly. I lived a double,
I lived a double life
yes.
while I was in corporate America for many years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I lived a double life for many years. Oh, so like on Sundays, I drive an hour away to go meditate and teach people how to connect. And then I'd come back and I'd be the mother or be the political figure. And it was really, really tough for me. I'm sure it was for you as well, because I was in the eyes of the community, so I had to be very cautious of what I did and didn't do, which was kind of really sad. And
it was hard for me too.
Yeah, and the more I grew into it, the more enlightened you become, and the more you realize that these people aren't coming to my house for coffee, so why do I care what they think about me, And,
Exactly.
and my purpose is far greater, stronger than that, So one time I ended up getting a place so people could come, and I could teach, and I could give readings. And there was this historical society in Sudbury, Massachusetts. I'm not sure where you're from, but I
Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska. So in Massachusetts, there's the Revolutionary War, and they asked me if I would come out every Sunday to stand in a field and to tell me what I saw. And I'm like, sure. So I did that for like 6 months, and we were working with the Smithsonian Institute. It was really a lot of fun. We did a documentary on it. And next thing I know, I knew that one of the men in the Historical Society was looking for the Babe Ruth piano, the baseball player Babe Ruth.
Yes. You cover this in your book, too.
Yeah. And so I went out there, and all of a sudden, I didn't know where we were, because every Sunday they would take me to someplace new. And so I went out there, and all of a sudden I saw a flash of the Green Monster. Now, the Green Monster is a wall in Fenway Park with the
That's right. It's a giant green wall. I've actually toured Fenway Park.
Oh, really?
Yes. I used to. The Red Sox used to be a client of mine in my past life.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Interesting. I have them too. And I said to the guy, and I said, Kevin, his name was, and I said, no, I'm not doing this. There's no way I'm doing this. He's like, please just give me 10 minutes. I said, okay, fine. So I got on the hill. I went in my head, and I saw nautical marks. So they took the nautical marks. Well, I didn't know it. They really tricked me. The next day, they had a permit for the pond, and they had state divers lined up. They went out and searched for it and found the veneers in 10 minutes. Now, the environmental police have been searching for 30 years for this piano. And so this was like crazy. A big thing. Yeah, so they found it. So what happened was that went worldwide, the news.
Yeah, I bet so. Especially because it's like such a unsolved mystery, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's Babe Ruth. Like, even if you don't like baseball, Babe Ruth.
Exactly. So then all of a sudden, the universe said, you're coming out today. Everyone's going to know what you're doing on Sundays, So everyone knew. It was all over the news, from here to Japan to India, everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I wanted to die. I was devastated because of it. I didn't want anyone to know.
Did that really happen for you? You were like, this incredible gift, and you thought, what if people find out?
Absolutely. That's what it was like me for years, because of the politics, Yeah. And
I do get it.
Yeah, so I had to suck it up and accept my purpose, and that was that. So what happened was, next thing I know, agents and families started coming to me. Can you help us find this? Can you help us with this information? They're knocking on my door. Next thing, so the forensics came to me. I didn't search for it. It all came to me. It was like the universe had set me up and given me all these tools and foundation for what was coming. And this was what was coming. I had no idea, So,
I love that you call yourself like you self-identified reluctant medium. That's hilarious. And a forensic medium, which for people that are like, okay, Sheila Marie, I don't know what that means. I'm just an average Joe person. Right, What the heck does that mean? Will you tell them, what does it mean to be a forensic psychic medium, and how do you use those gifts? And we'll talk about a whole bunch of things. But
absolutely,
help people understand what that even means. If they're like, I don't know what that means.
Forensics is data and information, basically. Okay, and so I'm a psychic medium. So what I do is a little different than your average medium or psychic. They may go, if people looking for information, they might go and just get a reading and get information that way. What I do is a little different. I have a blueprint, and actually it was taught to me through spirit. It was something that I grew into, even the blueprint. So basically, I can kind of tell you what happens to me along the way. If that,
exactly.
So for instance, I'll use this for an example. So I'll use my first case. So Kevin. Actually, it was my first intervention with the FBI, okay? So not intervention, but my first experience with the FBI. So Kevin was like, "Oh, this woman needs to be found." I'm not going to tell you the cases or anything because I have to protect myself. It's just
exactly.
I protect my family, you know.
100%.
Because once you work in a case, it's always open forever. People are connected to it, and you have to be cautious of your safety, you know. And to me, I don't like to be in the front. I like to be behind the scenes and just help, you know. And so, anyways, Kevin says, "Okay, Sheila." We're going to get in the car. He goes, do you have a couple days? I'm like, okay.
I guess so.
We're in a car. Yeah.
Packing overnight, babe.
Yeah, I did. And he says to me, okay, we're in the car. Now, all he does is tell me the name. And I have no idea what it is. A missing persons, homicide, anything. I have no idea. And I said, okay. He goes, okay, go ask Spirit what you're getting. I'm like, okay. So I got my piece of paper and I just start writing down words, sometimes maps. Sometimes faces, this and that. So basically, make a long story short, in this event, in this case, we traveled through 2 states in the car, and I was naming the graveyards, the street names, this and that. And he goes, okay. He goes, look to the left. He goes, the name you just said, there it is. like the graveyard name. I'm like, oh my God. And like I had already, like I didn't even know where I was going or anything, and Spirit had shown me everything I needed to know for landmarks to get there. So we get in, and we obviously spoke with the FBI. They knew who I was, yada, yada, yada. So we went along just for our safety so they can understand why we're walking through possibly the crime scenes, you know what I mean, of everything there. And so, so this was a 3-day event for us. So basically, I'm channeling information from Spirit. I'm just saying what I see. What I do is I use paper and I write a lot. And I'm not asking any questions. It's just information coming through me. And then
I do that too.
Yeah.
It's like scribbles and all sorts of crazy.
Oh, well, then you need to come to my class. and then so what happens is then I'll go back and then I'll sit with Spirit and I'll say, well, in this case, anyways, I'll sit with Spirit and say, okay, show me what words I need to know, and I'll go and I'll circle. And so it's a process. So it's a process of elimination. You know, finding that needle in the
so they basically
haystack.
Download a ton of information to you, and then they zero in the most important components. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes. And it's sometimes a case can last from 1 hour to 6 weeks to 3 months. So a lot of times I get dreams, and I don't ask for those. So those are kind of really incredible when they happen, you know. But in this case, it was interesting because what we did was we helped lead them to the area it was in, and if I go, this was a missing persons murder case, and what will happen is I'll wait. Like when I go to like crimes. There'll be mediums there and psychics but they'll be giving readings. It's different than what I'm doing. You know, I have my own blueprint in the way I'm doing it. I write reports, everything. And I used to be a police officer as well.
Right.
And an investigator.
So you kind of have like all of that earthly intelligence coupled with your spiritual gifts. Kind of is a nice pairing.
So in this case, we led them to the area like 500 feet from where she was. So they found her. It was really, that was incredible because that was, what is incredible to me is the names and the landmarks. Like for me, I consider myself like an energy junkie. So like the information will come in and then we'll find it. I'm like, oh my God, then we'll find more. You know what I mean? It's like, but from now, I mean, I've done hundreds of cases now of different types of homicides, all different types. And for me, it's very rewarding to help the families to find the closure, you know, and that's the reason why I do it. And I don't do it for me. I do it for the families, you know, and it can be very emotional at times too, you know?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So Sheila Marie, do you, is it your own team and Spirit that's giving you these downloads and these pieces of information to help you solve these cases? Or is it the victims coming through and giving you information? Can you can you feel the difference? Do you get both?
Absolutely. So like, for instance, one time I worked on a case and at nighttime I was getting dreams. And the boy was showing me, the little boy was showing me. I could see the top of his head the whole time. I'm always connected to my guides. My guides are in
Same.
charge, right? My guides are in
Yes.
charge. They know what's doing, what I need. So I give them the reins. Do I ask some people in spirit to help me? Absolutely. I have a couple of friends in spirit that I'll ask, but directly I just let spirit handle it because they know what's best, and they know I'm working
Yes.
for them. And so I do have my spirit guides are my team, but in dreams and stuff, I'll see the spirit. But sometimes if I'm working on a case, yes, the spirit will come and I'll communicate back and forth with the spirit. Show me, what do I need to know? Then they'll communicate, tell me things that happened today, so the person knows I'm communicating with them. You know what I mean? So oh, absolutely. So I'll be honest with you, I've done hundreds of cases, and every case is different. There's never one that's exact. It's always a different scenario, and so that's what keeps it, going for me.
I was gonna say it probably keeps you sharp.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're not gonna get bored or
the thing
doing
is,
the same thing.
I try to keep myself open, and I don't think. I just know the name. I have no idea what the case is about or anything, and that's the best way to be, because everything you get, you're not even going to think about, because you don't even know where it's going and where it's leading to, and so then there'll be parts, and then there'll be parts in the case where, like, maybe say like a week or two into it, I'll gather my information. 9 times out of 10, the first 2 pages is exactly where I need to look or search, or the information, but it's just a matter of finding it and knowing where to find it too. So sometimes after that, I have to go on a real map and look, you know what I mean? And find,
Sure. Yeah.
And so there's different ways of asking and funneling in the information. I forget where I was going with this.
Well, one of the things you said that I thought was really powerful, you said, I try not to think, and I try to, basically just receive. And I know that you believe the same as me, that we all have spiritual gifts, just different levels of intensity, but we all have the ability to talk to our team in spirit.
Of course.
And I actually think what you said is a really powerful tip for people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when I work with clients, my team in spirit constantly shows me like noisy chatter in their head, like they can't get out of their own way. So they're overthinking everything. Like, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? What about this? Like, and it makes it that much harder to receive guidance and connection.
When I teach, that's one of the first things I teach to the students when they start connecting. From now on, you don't use the word think. You don't even say the word think in class. If you do, I knock them out at the knees, because I love you. And I say, listen, from now on, you don't think anymore. If you're thinking, you're interpret. If you're interpreting, you're thinking, even subconsciously. So don't even interpret, because when you interpret, you're thinking. Just
100%.
receive all the information. You can interpret it later if you need to, but it's all about, like, say you're doing a reading, it's all about the trigger. It's all about the trigger, not for you, but for the person sitting in front of you. Like, in other words, I always use this for an example. There's a woman sitting in front of me, spirit showing me 5 different types of maps, red mats, white mats, all different kinds of mats. Well, she's sitting there crying. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? And she's crying. Well, because her son's name is Matt. So the trigger was, it's not always the vision. It's the word itself, So the trigger to her was the mat,
So did they show you mats, like placemats?
All
and then
different
to get
kinds.
the name mat?
Yes.
To get,
all
yeah.
different
Isn't that
kinds.
funny?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for me, it's also like a game of charades. And so it's like
Absolutely.
learning the language of my own team, and
Exactly.
my signals are going to be totally different than yours.
But I'll tell you what, I always tell
Yeah.
everyone, when I first started like 25, 30 years ago, I used to have these teachers, and they'd say, write down your symbols, write them down. And as the teacher, I don't encourage that. And I'll tell you why. Because your symbols will change. You
I
might
agree with
understand certain things, so be cautious of symbols. Symbols can be cautious. You have to. Everything changes. Is what I should say.
For me, I think like it evolves. Like as my gifts evolve, which I think is true for everybody. Like as your intuition increases, like it's a lifelong journey. You're never like at a destination. You never arrive there.
There's never any perfect medium.
And I think like the more you learn, then the more they teach you. And then the more you learn, the more they teach you. And so what they might have used as a tool for you early on in your journey might be a different, like you said, a different symbol, different tool, different,
Exactly.
or they might combine things where
Yes.
I'll get flashes of words and feelings and a image, and you put all the things together to like piece
Yeah.
together what they're saying.
In my
and
book,
then for me,
there's
for
a
me,
lot of
they
this
show
in
me
there.
lights. They'll be
Yeah.
like, green light, that's
Oh.
correct. You got it. Like they'll
Sure.
flash it to me if I get
Yep.
it right.
If you ask,
Yeah.
and you ask, whatever you ask, you shall receive. And a lot of this stuff is in my book, the Forensic Medium, The Power of the Unseen. It's all about connection, and the fear that's blocking you, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? We get, our ego gets the best of us and gets in our way all the time.
I always tell everybody in the beginning when they first come to like a workshop or a class, put your ego at the door, because if you don't, I'm going to knock you out at the knees and you're not going to like it. And don't say the word think.
Exactly. That's good
don't
advice.
be human.
So what process do you follow to get to raise your vibrational state or get in a high frequency energy to receive guidance? Is there anything that you do that allows you to continue to raise your vibrational energy, or is it so fluid for you that you're just always on and always receiving?
Well, I'll have to say it's different now than it was in the beginning. In the beginning, I used to have to sit in meditation for an hour and connect and get information, you know? I don't have to do that now. All I have to do now is just say a pray. I always say a prayer of intent for my guides, for protection, and then I start the relationship. I start the communication, you know, or they're starting it with me. So for me, I think that you just need to live a normal life, you know? Maybe I would say eat a lot of greens, drink a lot of water. For me, I like to listen to a lot of music. So for me, that raises my vibration. But I feel it really ultimately comes down to your connection with your guides. So practicing your mediumship, going to class or mentorship, whatever that is, and learning to perfect your mediumship is key. You know?
Yeah. So an average everyday listener who is like, I'm not a medium. What are you talking about?
No. So,
what would you say should be like some of their first steps to help them recognize this gift that they have?
So I believe that everybody's able to connect. So you have to remember, we live in space, right? And our bodies are just our astronaut suits. Our energy, our soul, what's within us is who we are. Everyone's able to connect. There are pre-beginners and there are Bachs or Beethovens, you know? And then you have your semi-pro and your professional, okay? So everyone's able to connect. It's your birthright how to connect. You know how we daydream? You do it every night. You dream, you daydream. Just your existence is connected to the universe. So why not learn to understand that connection and develop that connection? It doesn't mean you have to do readings. It doesn't mean, for me, I didn't even like the word psychic. I didn't even want to put it on my website because I'm like, that's not who I am. I'm not a psychic. I'm Sheila. You know, I'm Sheila Marie. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's nothing to fear. And unfortunately, our society has blocked us from fearing. Our Western culture has. You know, I was in India last year for 3 months, and I go over there. I'm a goddess.
I know.
Everybody's wanting to connect. They understand the connections of the universe. They understand the soul. When I come here, I'm a witch. You know what I mean? So I'm evil. You know, I'm like, well, no, I'm just me. And once you understand that as a human being, you know you have intuition. You know there's a gut feeling. You know there's a higher source. You know, and don't fear yourself. That's what I say. Don't fear yourself. And allow yourself to grow and to be enlightened. If a lot of people get stuck on religion is fine, but the man-made part of it is not, you know? So the spiritual part is wonderful. So, and it's all about connection, but so you have to kind of look at it in a different perspective. Sometimes I believe people here are not ready for that, and some people are, you know, because everybody's on their own journey and their own path, you know, and our whole life here is just one dream.
Oh, that's an interesting way to think about it.
And so don't fret the small stuff. But as far as pre-beginners, there's not one person that I haven't been able to teach to connect, because it's who you are as a being. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I do. 100%.
Yeah, and some people choose, like you and I, we choose to do this professionally. You know, for me, it was a calling, and I can't say that for other people what they choose, but for me, I couldn't live another day unless I taught people how to do this. So it was like I gave up everything to do this. But I'm okay with that because actually one time I had some surgery. This is funny. And I used to go in between, I really don't like being a medium because people judge me. And it's kind of a lonely life in society. You know what I mean? It really is, unless you find your tribe. So anyways,
find your people.
Right, yeah. So I had this surgery, and it blocked my connection. Well, anyways, I went back to work, and there's a woman sitting in front of me in my studio, and I couldn't connect. I'm like, I started crying. She's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I can't connect. I'm trying to. I'm like, what's going on?" She goes, "Just come back in a week, honey." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So she came back in a week, and I was able to connect. So what happened? The medicines blocked my connection. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But it was a lesson for me, because I didn't realize how my life had changed so much. And
you got a flashback to your old life.
Yeah. And I can never go back and be that, because this is a beautiful life I have now. Being connected to everything, and the higher source is love. It's a higher connection. It's incredible. And I can't imagine doing that again. Could never go back, because it's always about moving forward, but it's an enlightenment. It's a growing of connection to all sources of love, so it's incredible. Yeah. So that was a lesson for me, I think, too,
Yeah. I think it's a great lesson, like to get to have that reminding, because I feel so similarly. Like I was in corporate America. And,
there you go.
Like I was
exactly what it is. Yeah.
I was a chief sales officer. I was like knee deep in it all. And I would never go back to that life because of how I feel and how connected I feel. And I don't ever want to not feel that way again. I feel like it's such a gift. But I also agree with you. It's a gift available to everyone if you're willing to receive it.
Absolutely. There's no one more special than the other. There's no perfect medium. Mediums are constantly growing. If their ego's in the way, they need to go back to class. Because even when we leave this journey, we're still growing. And
100%.
I tell everyone when I mentor them, I do classes online, but I also do workshops, but I mentor. I tell them, I'm just your guide. I'm not your teacher. Your guides are your teachers. What I do is I help you to get there, to connect with them, and I can help you and show you my experiences and my blueprints, but I'm not your teacher. Your guides are your teachers. And it's so important for people to, it's so funny because people are in paranormal every day, right? Because don't you have a cell phone? Well, how are you communicating? How is communication going? This virtual session right now, this is paranormal. We do it every day.
Exactly. I actually love the way you talk about that in your book, and you explain kind of the science behind it. And I think that's really helpful for people.
Absolutely. It's all electrocoagulation. It's all quantum physics, the string theory. We're energy, and we forget we live in space, and once you embrace that, your life is different. And also, I would say, the most thing that made my life change was knowing there's no such thing as time.
I know that blows people's brains.
Time is man-made, right?
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, and time is man-made. And once you realize that, the rush is gone. The calmness comes, and you live more in the now, not in the past, not in the future. You live more consciously. And that's what it's all about, enjoying the journey to get there, and mindset, manifestation, the vibration of everything around you, what you bring into your life, all the positivity. If you're having a bad day, change your mindset, change your monkey mind. And how do you do that? In the book, I talk about meditation. Meditation is key. There's 5 meditations in there. A lot of people will say to me, "Oh, I think too much. I can't meditate." And I'm like, you don't have to close your eyes to meditate. You can crochet. You can walk.
Yeah, you can do moving meditation.
Yeah, and there's a nadi pranayam in there, which is a nasal breathing exercise you can do anywhere you are, So there's many different ways to connect, but it's so important for you as a being to connect. Just go outside, look at the sun, look at the moon, connect with the earth, the water. The earth and the sky will teach you. And we'll bring you that calmness, and we'll show you the answers. And sometimes through animals too,
Oh, totally. But I think you're right though. If you think about, even if you're like, I'm not sure, I'm a little bit of a skeptic. I'm not sure I even believe in these things. But then you go outside, you go in the forest, you go to a lake, you go to the ocean, you sit in the sand, you sit in the grass. There isn't a single person I've ever talked to that doesn't feel a little bit better when they do that.
Absolutely. It's all,
so you're like, well,
yeah.
There you go.
And you tell this, I have people that are in my life and they're like, they don't believe in religion at all. It's not about a belief. It's just what is. It's not a belief. It's not a religion. It's just what is. That's it. It's about connection. And the connection is there, whether we choose it or not, it's there. The vibrations are there.
Yes. And I like what you said too a bit ago about when you get prepared, you just set an intention and then a little prayer, set an intention, connect and invite them in. And I tell people that all the time. Just set an intention, meditate or pray, and invite them to co-create with you.
What happens is, what I find in the classes is people will doubt what they see.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the human being getting in the way. So it's important. Like in my classes, I teach controlled thinking and uncontrolled thinking. Okay. And there's a big difference in both when your mind and your subconscious is thinking and creating and when you're not. And understanding and feeling the difference will help you to not doubt so much. So that takes a little practice to not doubt so much, because a human being wants to investigate everything,
Indeed.
So it's about trust. And in order to trust, you have to let go and have faith in your higher power and your higher source.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about signs or synchronicities. Like, do you still get them? What are your favorite signs or synchronicities from your team and spirit? Like, what are some of the ones they use for you?
Everywhere, anything, anyhow. That's the way I look at it. I like just the other day. I'm in Florida presently, and I go outside, and there's a duck just looking at me. I'm like, and there's no ducks in this area. There's no water. I'm like, and he's just looking at me. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, I don't know why you're here. Okay, and then it just flew away. That was weird. Next day, I go out again. Well, the duck's standing on top of my car. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, if this is not a sign, I don't know what is. So I took a picture of it. I'm like, you're really cute. I'll take a picture for you. Well, the next day, I get a call from a woman, and she was telling me that I was reading for her, and her husband had died a year ago, yada, yada, yada. And she was telling me through the whole reading that they were buying a new duck. And I'm thinking to myself, I think that was her husband coming to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the night before, I said, okay, that was confirmation. So I sent her the picture of the duck, and they're all crying. Blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the times the signs aren't for me, But but when I'm working on a case, that's incredible. Like I get a lot of signs from birds, like hawks. And the other day, I actually got and sometimes owls, it was really weird. I was staying in this place, and every day I would hear an owl outside, but in the daytime. And I'm thinking, that's a little weird.
You're like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it was loud. I'm like, I'm saying to my kids, did you hear that? They're like, yeah, Ma, whatever. Because they're like, whatever, she's crazy, right? I'm like, yeah, the owl. Well, all of a sudden I go for a walk. Of course I'm by myself. And all of a sudden, the owl swoops in front of me and flies. I'm thinking, wow, this is like Harry Potter, right?
Kidding. Like,
So my interpretation was that it was confirmation because someone close to me had died. And sometimes when I hear owls, for me, I'll hear owls maybe 3 weeks before someone dies, and it was all intertwined with that time. So that to me was a sign of connection for her as well, But I see signs all the time, and people will speak signs too. And it almost sounds like you're crazy. Like they'll come and give you information. I'm like, what? Like when my kids were little, I'd be working on a case, and they come out of the room, hey Ma, do. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what did you just say? Oh, I'm like, okay, like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to give you confirmation.
Yeah, like 100%. I'll be thinking something in my head, they'll walk out and tell me,
That actually happened to me and my daughter. Like they showed me a grasshopper, and then I was looking again for a grasshopper, and it was winter, and I live in Nebraska, and it's snowy and whatever. And I literally said to my team in spirit, like, where's my grasshopper? You told me you're going to send me a grasshopper. Like, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, like, give me my grasshopper. Otherwise, I'll assume this is not what I'm supposed to do. And literally 12 seconds later, I walk into my bedroom, and my daughter had put a plastic bug grasshopper on my pillow to scare me. She thought it'd be funny.
Wow, isn't that
And
awesome?
she set me a little, and I was like, oh, well,
yeah, isn't that
there you
awesome? Yeah, it's amazing how spirit uses the kids.
But I literally was like, if you don't show me this, you're telling me this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. It was like, should I go left or right kind of a decision I needed to make.
Isn't that wonderful?
And then I was like, okay, good, thank you. I guess ask and you shall receive, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I want to dive into a few things just to get to know you. I love to do this with all of my guests on my podcast. So it's just rapid fire some of your favorite things as a person.
Okay.
Okay, what is your favorite food?
Well, I would say Japanese.
Oh, nice.
Japanese.
Lovely.
Food, yep.
Never had that answer. It's a new one. Your either favorite place to travel or where you would love to go if you could just plop out and travel to somewhere next.
Well, I am going to India again, but I would like to go to Japan. That's funny.
Maybe that's why it's on your mind.
Yeah.
I actually studied abroad in India when I was in college.
Oh, what part?
All over. It was a program that we studied through NGOs. So we backpacked the whole country, but our base home was in Bangalore. But we really went all the way south through Kerala, all the way north.
I go to
really
Rishikesh.
were all over.
Haridwar, Rishikesh, and the Himalayas there up in.
Yeah, it's very spiritual on the northern side of that there. Well, the whole country is really.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, and we spent, I'm a talker, Sheila Marie, and we spent like almost 2 weeks in a Buddhist monastery where we didn't talk from sun up till sundown, and we meditated. This was part of my college class. And that was such a transformational experience for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love
to
that.
go that
They
deep.
do that, a lot of that everywhere. Bunde-Dunn has great stuff in there. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, I'm having my own little eat, pray, love moment, but just the pray part of it.
Yeah, it's true, though. Sadhana is wonderful when you don't speak and you really become one with the source, you know?
Yeah, it was a very deep experience for me as a young adult, you know?
I bet, yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love Halloween, especially I'm from Boston, so it's big up where we're from, you know?
Nice. Very cool. What about your favorite animal or spirit animal?
Oh. I love turtles. Yep, turtles. And
love it.
A spirit animal? Jeez.
Sounds like owls might be one that you get.
No, I want to say eagle.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, eagle.
And I literally see them sometimes physically, but I'll see them in the weird, like in photographs, in artwork, all sorts of things.
Really?
And I did it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I like almost every day, literally almost every day. Yeah, and I did a deep meditation to ask my team in spirit, what are you trying to teach me right now through this, this representation of this eagle? And it was very helpful, for them to download that for me and why they keep reminding me of the eagle.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say I love all animals.
Yeah, I love that. What is your favorite thing about what you do for a living?
I think my favorite thing, of course, helping families and people, but I like just connecting with people all over the world. You know what I mean? That to me. But my favorite thing is watching people grow. Yeah, watching people become enlightened and watching them be amazed at themselves, and their connections and growing and then helping people. It's a wonderful thing to watch. Yeah.
And then what advice do you have for individuals? We talked about this quite a bit. So if you could maybe summarize back, what advice do you have for people to strengthen their connection with their spirit team and strengthen their intuition?
Well, meditation, number one. Absolutely, meditation is key. The more you sit in meditation or take a meditation class, the more you get to go into the power of the space in between. So that is key to everything. I would say come to class. Come to my classes.
Well, that's
Yeah,
a perfect segue.
Yeah.
So what, how can people connect with you, follow you, if they want to get a reading or they want to learn from you as a
Sure.
master teacher? Like,
Yep.
how do people connect with you and what can they do with you?
So you can go on SheilaMarieMedium.com. Actually, there you'll see a list of my current galleries. So I do like spirit galleries and my workshops, and I also do online classes as well weekly, and I also mentorship people with mediumship from pre-beginner all the way to forensics to advanced. So so I do private mentorship, and I also do classes all online, and I do the workshops in live as well. And what else do I do? Oh yeah, and my book is there as well. Forensic Medium, The Power of the Unseen, or you could go to Kindle or Amazon for that, for the ebook and the paperback, or forensicmedium.com. That's the book site, and that leads you to the website SheilaMarieMedium.com.
Perfect. Well, fantastic. I will link all of that in the show notes too, so that people can do a link to purchase the book or get to your website and learn more about you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on this podcast and hang out with me. I truly appreciate it. So, and thank you for all the beautiful insights. So,
thank you so much for coming. Coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, we hung out together and it was good. So
absolutely.
thank you so much, Sheila Marie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.